Hey guys, so a few people have requested me to do an updated tutorial on how to export in Premiere Pro, CS6 or any other version of Premiere Pro. So I did do a earlier version, but however this method is actually better because it uses the H.264 codec and the other one used a totally different codec, and I don't know why I said that was the best export, because it is not. So here I have Premiere Pro CS6, and I just have a random clip from my Canon T3i right here, and I'm just gonna drag it to the timeline. And so here it is, as you can see right there. And so the first thing that you want to make sure is that your composition matches your settings. So in my case, this sequence, as you can see, it is 1920 by 1080, and it is 24 frames per second, and that does match this clip because I did record on my Canon T3i. But so the first thing that you want to do is you always want to render the entire work area once you've done with the effects and all that, because it'll make exporting really it'll make it better and faster, and you also won't get unnecessary flickering and all that stuff. So it's almost done here, and when it's done, it's gonna have this green line right here, which means that it is rendered 100%. And after you have your footage edited and rendered and all that stuff, you can go into File and then Export and Media, or you can just hold Command M or Control M on Windows, I believe. So here are the export settings. You're gonna have different stuff for this, and here you can select what portion of the clip you want to export just by dragging this. And I'm just gonna make it a bit smaller. I don't know why I have black there, but yeah, there we go. So first you do not want to use match sequence settings, because that will just make the exporting very bad, and you will have very low quality. So you want to uncheck that if you for some reason have that checked, and then under format you want to click that and select H.264. That is the best codec. And then in preset, if you shot the video in 1080p, you want to select HD 1080p, and then you want to select the according frame rate to your video. Or if you want to reduce the file size, you can export it in 720p. That won't affect the quality whatsoever. But I'm just gonna export it in HD 1080p 23.9976 frames per second, and that's okay. And then you can change the output name and the destination where you want to export the video. I'm just gonna call it test. There we go. And the file format, just leave that alone. It's gonna encode it in an MP3 format, so just click on save. And then you don't actually have to worry about filters. The only tabs that you have to worry about is video and audio. So here you have the basic video settings. There's the width and the height of your video. Just leave that alone because you chose the size that you wanted right here, so you shouldn't change that there. And here you also have the frame rate, which you did select there. Then you get the field order, progressive, aspect ratio, square pixels 1.0, just check that. And then TV standard, I do have NTCC, or if you're in the UK you can choose PAL. Then in profile, just leave that alone, or you can bump it up to 5.1 and select high there, but these are just the default settings, and that will be good. And then if you want the best quality, you don't care about how many time Premiere Pro renders your file. You can render at maximum depth, but it will take longer. And so here is the most important part of the entire rendering process. The bitrate encoding, you want to make sure that it is VPR2 pass. Although it does not make much difference with the VPR1 pass, it still will give you better quality. However, it will take longer time because it will give a 2 pass to the video. But so this is the most important part of the exporting, which is the bitrate. So if you have a Canon DSLR such as a T3i or T2i or 60D, those cameras do record in a very high bitrate. So it is about 45 kilobits per second, and that is very, very high. So here I just have some clips of my Canon T3i, and if I go into the get info, as you can see, it is 44 kilobits per second, which is really high. And so If you do have a camcorder, you can leave this at about, let's say, 6, because the camcorders normally record about 10,000 or maximum 25, but since this is a DSLR, it does record very high. For web exporting, I like to keep it at about 12. I would say that's just the best that works for me, or you can also type in what you want there. I like to keep it on 12. And when I am exporting, I think like a test, I do bump this up to about 20, because I do want the best quality, and the higher the bitrate, the better it will look in 360p, and you will not have to bump it up to 720p for the video to look good. Although at 12 it doesn't really make a difference, but you can just play around with that. I'm telling you, if you have a DSLR, I would keep it about 12. That will give you really high quality at 360p, and you won't even notice a difference when you switch over to 720p. But if you have a camcorder, you can keep this at about 5. And this is for 1080p. If you are exporting in 720p for DSLR, it would be at about 10, and for camcorders you can keep it at about 4. But since it is 1080p, I'm gonna keep it up at about 12, and the maximum bitrate is just pretty much the limit of how much you can have the bitrate. So I would keep this at about 30, maybe if you want to go 30. You can go up to 50, however that is unnecessary. It'll give you a huge file size, and it will be uploading tons of hours to YouTube. And that's pretty much it. For you want to leave this alone, and you can use maximum render quality if you do want, if you do not care how much time it will be exporting your video. Just uncheck use frame blending, that is unnecessary. And then in audio, you want to leave the format to AAC, audio codec AAC, or you can change this to any of these versions. It's pretty much the same. And the sample rate, I would leave it at the highest, which is 48 kilohertz, and channels 5.1, that is the best. And then you can bump the quality up to high, since the audio does not take much space. You can make it the best. And then the bitrate, I would leave it at 192, and in advanced settings, just leave it at bitrate. So pretty much just leave the settings of audio alone, because they're good like that way. And so then you can go ahead and save the preset if you don't want to change the settings every time. So you can just call it something like YouTube HD export. And this is just so that you do not have to change the settings each time. Just click OK, and you can choose under the preset. Here you have your custom presets, and here you have YouTube HD export. And then you just can click on export, and it'll encode the sequence. But so yeah, that's pretty much it. These are the best exports for Premiere Pro. Again, you can play with the bitrate. If you do not want a high file size, but you still want high quality, just bump it a bit lower. It won't affect the video that much. So yeah, please comment down below what you think about this export, and if it is working for you, and also watch my tests and comment on that what you think about them. And so yeah, I'll catch you all in the next video.